Welcome to Friday Night Live. Do me a huge favor right now. Can you press the share if you're on Facebook? Press the share button right now. Thank you so much. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe to our station right now, to our channel. We want everyone to be a part of this exciting show. We thank you for your support. Let's go into our service and let's enjoy the show.
we have used as a song for this camp meeting and a theme. I'm packing up and getting ready to go. So what on earth are we doing for heaven? What on earth are we doing for heaven? This really struck a little more forcefully in my mind this morning. Brother Archie Branch, one of my old deacons back in Memphis, placed in my hand a set of cards. He said, you know, these are all of the people who have died or stopped attending church since you were there. And as you read the list, it becomes very moving, because these dear souls are very dear to our hearts. Many of them are sleeping. And we too must pack up and move out one of these days. I think Elder Ward said the other night, 100 years from now, if we're still here, or if Earth is still here, all of us will be gone. But I pray and hope that Jesus will come. He said this morning that it's possible that the Lord could be here in 7 years. Getting ready for the time, we need to pack up and get ready. So it's, what on earth are we doing for heaven? We're packing up. Someone said they'd like to have all the men to sing that, and then all of the ladies would join in with us, and then let's say everybody bring it to the rafters where, let's just do the chorus. Can we do that? Packing up and getting ready. Packing up and getting ready to go. Packing up, getting ready. I'm packing up, getting ready. I'm packing up and getting ready. Packing up and getting ready to go. Can we have all the men, just all the men, ladies, you just listen to the brethren, would you sing that for us? And bring some of that rich, deep bass in there. It's packing up and getting ready. Packing up and getting ready to go. Packing up, getting ready. I'm packing up, getting ready. Ladies, sing it, children. Packing up, packing up and getting ready. I'm packing up, getting ready. Come down, my Lord, come down. I'm packing up, getting ready. And take me up to get my crowd. I'm packing up and getting ready. Packing up and getting ready to go. Packing up and getting ready. I'm packing up and getting ready. If you don't believe I've been redeemed, I'm packing up, getting ready. Just follow me down to the Jordan stream. I'm packing up, getting ready. I'm packing up and getting ready. Sing it, church. Packing up, getting ready to go. Packing up, getting ready. I'm packing up, getting ready to go. I'm
getting ready to go. I'm
As we reverence the relevance of our melanin, the historicity of black excellence is prevalent, parading our pioneers for our pleasure and paying homage to those who hung for our heritage. But I won't act as if I'm an activist. I'm an African-American Trinitarian, more of a black evangelist, and I was called a contradiction for the same reason I'm hated twice as much, being black and a Christian. I didn't mean to go for the trifecta when I told y'all that I believed in the Trinity. Then I realized if they hate Christ without a cause, well, they'll hate me for anything. But I won't give them a reason. I'm unapologetically apologetic. I just added to my defense, I'm weaving all conjecture and every arbitrary claim to the obituary that couldn't carry his name because he's still living. Oh, y'all thought death did us part. Say he renewed his vows. Long story short, I'm still with him. Monogamous and monotheistic. Yeah, I'm about that life. Some may mention Jesus, but we ain't talking about the same Christ, so they call me whitewashed. And that ain't even the color of his blood. I bathe in it. So y'all tell me what's the color of his love when my belief thrived in Tunisia before Europe even was. I'm all in North Africa. You see, I got the Trinity from Tertullian. This hooligan got a hold of Athanasius and went to school again. Then read the slave narratives like, I'll never be a fool again. I came to put to silence the ignorance of foolish men that confuse true Christianity with this Western depiction. It's not a white man's religion, just suffered from the white man's rendition. But do you see the mental condition? When we try to counteract Christ's cross-cultural convictions, salvation is independent of pigment. For instance, Christ was treated more Negro than you. And you could see the domino effect on the Big Six because Nero had Simon Bar-Jonas, Peter Rowe too. So don't think you'll accomplish anything when you lock the game, because when Christ rolled the stone and exposed his hands, all you seen was a double blank. The tomb and your expression, his right hand and his left hand, the truth and your suppression is proof that you're rejecting. And they try to tell me that Christians can't be conscious. Stop trying, they lying. We're both conscious. I'm just praying theirs not seared with a hot iron, because hell hath enlarged herself. So working out your own soul salvation is the only way to exercise. Y'all pray for me.
Hey, Friday Night family, guess what? It's another Flex with Lex challenge. Last week, we did leg raisers or bicycle kicks. I hope that you got all your kicks in. So today, we are going to get up off the floor and we are gonna do a slow, controlled jog. What is that? So a slow, controlled jog is this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. So if you can't do a slow controlled jog, here's the modification. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did you get that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You want to keep your abs tight, and you want to focus on holding your body weight on each leg as you go up. You can increase the speed or decrease the speed according to your ability. Remember, it's 100 slow jogs per day for the week. See you next time on Flex with Lex.
It's trivia time. And in case you don't already know, it's February, which is Black History Month, where we celebrate all of the accomplishments and contributions that Black people had on this world. Listen, guys, for the next couple weeks, we're going to be going into a special selection of trivia. And man, we want you to participate. And all you have to do to participate, like we always say, is go down to the description box, click on the link, answer every question correctly, and if you can just do that, then your name will be entered into a raffle to win a prize. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to go ahead and get ready. I want you to listen carefully to these questions, answer them correctly, and you just might enter into a raffle to win a prize. Are you ready? Here we go. Now, I hope that you guys were able to answer all of the questions correctly, and I'm hoping that I'm able to send you a prize this month. Now, until next week, it's trivia time.
Christianity and slavery were long intertwined. While masters believed that their religion could be used to pacify their slaves, African Americans transformed Christianity and created a new culture that would serve as the foundation of their freedom struggle.
The oldest independent African American denomination is the African Methodist Episcopal Church, founded in Philadelphia in 1794 by Richard Allen, the formerly enslaved black man who purchased his own freedom.
Black religious leaders such as Reverend Allen took a strong abolitionist stance, even helping slaves escape through the Underground Railroad. During the Civil War, some served as army chaplains, and once the war ended, many mobilized black political participation. Some even held public office.
The black church provided leadership opportunities for men and women who, by and large, were in subservient positions in the workforce. And so all of these preachers doing work in the black church have been critical to giving black people a space to envision that a different world is possible.
The late 1800s saw a dramatic proliferation of black churches, and the church remained central to black life through the 20th century, particularly at the height of the Civil Rights Movement.
In the 1960s, the church is playing a much more overtly militant and political role in terms of trying to organize people to defeat Jim Crow, end racism, and also to promote economic equality.
The tradition of black religious leaders shepherding the freedom struggle reached its pinnacle, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King fused religion, nonviolent resistance, and the prophetic tradition to challenge Jim Crow, while invoking the musical legacy of the spirituals that enslaved African Americans had created. Today, the black church remains a fundamentally important institution in the black community.
The black church has had to be everything to black people because American society was unwilling to do so. Today, we don't need the church to do the same things for us, but do I think the church is still a relevant institution? Absolutely. It is the place that you can come and rebuild your spirit after you deal with the spiritual assault on black life that many African Americans experience because of enduring histories of racism and discrimination.
Happy Sabbath. Happy Sabbath. And welcome to Friday Night Live. It's our Black History Edition. I'm so happy to be with you on this historic night. We're still in the midst of celebrating our regional conferences and all of the great contributions we have been afforded because of the efforts of men and women daring to change the course of history. And we say, to God be the glory. This month is dedicated just to them. We want to say thank you for what you did on behalf of us. And we are truly forever indebted to you. This evening, our program has been changed. We will have our panel to participate in this evening's program. Pastor Richard Barron will be with us the following week, the first week in March. We're going to extend our program to the month of March. We have a new addition to our lineup for Black History, and I will announce that next week after we are done listening and learning and gleaning from the table with Pastor Dr. Rock. He's going to cook a wonderful meal for us, and we're going to dine, and we're going to have a great time listening to this great man of faith just pour into us and give us a true lesson on the progress of our great conference and the other 8 regional conferences. But this evening, I want to talk about what? The Black church. You didn't guess? We were leading up to the Black church with all of the videos and YouTube clips. We want to talk about the Black church. Let's bring the family in together. Come on in, family. The Black church. If you had the opportunity, I don't know how many of you are PBS watchers. Every now and then I sneak and watch PBS. There is a great documentary on the Black church. So this evening, we're going to take that momentum. We're going to take that theme, and we're going to discuss the Black church. Good evening, everyone. How are you, family?
Hey.
All right, we're together. Eddie, unmute yourself so you can be a part of the family. Hey, I like your background, man. It looks a little retro. What's going on? I like it.
There's some people. I've been praying for these people, man. That guy would do something about these people in my background. Y'all caught me in the middle of my prayer time.
You know something? Cherie, you're back there too.
What?
He's praying for all of us. That's his wall of what? That's your wall of prayer? But I don't know.
I got to pray for these people. Man, these are those people that if I don't pray for them, I just believe if I don't pray for them, their life ain't gonna be good, man. I just got to pray for them. There's a ghost somewhere in the midst over here. I just got to pray for them.
Well, listen, thank you so much for putting me on that wall. I receive it. Thank you, my friend. Cherie, we missed you last week. Welcome back. It's always good to have you with us. So listen, guys, let's get into the Black church. This is the conversation. The Black church. Those who are watching, the family, if you are watching the PBS special on the Black church, go ahead and indicate that right now in the comment box. What about you guys? Have you seen any of the documentary from Thursday on the Black church? No, so you guys are not PBS watchers. Public broadcast service. Listen, I want to give a plug out to a very deep, very well-researched documentary on the Black church. And this evening, we're going to talk a little bit about the Black church through the lenses of Adventism. We're going to have a real good time as we share about this rich culture that we have, this experience that God has afforded the Black community. And we just want to highlight that we have a history that's very special, a history that is literally dipped in spirituality. You know, if there is a group that can testify they know Jesus, it's us. Somebody testify. We know Jesus on this planet. Okay? And there are other groups I'm sure can say the same thing, but I'm talking about African Americans. I'm talking about the Black experience. Guess what, guys? We have a history. So let's get right into it. Let's start with Cherie, since you decided to come back. Welcome home. So Cherie, let's start with this question. Is there such a thing as the Black church? And if so, in your humble opinion, describe that Black church to us.
Does anybody else hear that feedback that's happening? It's a really bad feedback, friends. Like I'm not trying to dismiss the question or avoid it. It's really bad.
You hear it? Do you hear feedback now?
No. Now it's good.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Go
right.
ahead. We're good.
Okay. Ask your question again, please.
Is there such a thing as the Black church? And
I
if
believe.
so, describe your opinion of that church.
Just in aesthetics, I believe there is such a thing called the Black church. We have churches that have Blackness in their names. Those that are not affiliated with the Adventist background. We have like the AME churches. Those are historically Black churches. And so that's just from the name perspective of it. From denomination wise and regional wise, we are considered, our regional conferences are primarily and historically Black churches. So they run both sides of the gamut, where you could have them in the name and you could also have them. But most Black churches are predominantly filled with Black people. That's how you know it's a Black church.
Java, from the great ATL, the Southern roots of colored people. Explain. Lex just came on board with the sweat of the sanctification of Jesus. We can tell you preached up something. We can feel the Holy Spirit. Ooh, there's a shift up in here. Did you feel that? Man, all right. Did you feel that, Eddie? That shift. That's the Spirit of the Lord. I tell you. Welcome, my friend. And I know you gave service this evening, and we bless the Lord with that orange coat on. That's right. That's right. Like you just won the PGA. It's usually green, but we'll let you have the orange. Java, come on in here and talk to us. Do you believe, now you're from a rich historical African American city, is there such a thing as the Black church? And give us a taste of that.
Well, absolutely. The Black church is very much a real thing because of the Black experience. I mean, the Black experience, gave birth to the Black church. And what I mean when I say the Black experience, it is the slavery and the segregation and the Jim Crow laws, this systematic, attempt to suppress, the pursuit of happiness, and liberty, of Black people, of colored people, as what we were once called. And so we had to find somewhere to go, right? Everyone knows that in the Black church, Black people were able to be somebody. They had names, titles, that's why, man, if you was a deacon, I mean, that's something, because I'm a deacon, or if I'm an usher, that's something, because you had a place to belong, because you didn't have that in the broader American context. And still today, I'm wearing this shirt, I Can't Breathe. We're still having those same type of issues in the broader context of American society. So the Black church is kind of a countercultural experience that allowed God to prosper black people.
That's very interesting. Listen, you're taking this conversation in the right direction. Dr. Dre, is the black church more of an experience, or is the black church, as Java just mentioned, a counterculture from the dominant culture?
I believe it's a little both. In order for it to be that countercultural thing, there has to be an experience. So what the black church is a place of refuge, is a place of comfort, is a place where there was security, even though they were, being assaulted. But when they got there was a sense of security in the numbers that were assembled. And I think even today, though it doesn't have quite that same significance and meaning, but the black church was also a place of revolution, nonviolent revolution, obviously, but it was a place of revolution. It was a place where the social ills were addressed. And so it wasn't just the pathos of the preaching that was critical. It was also the fact that everyday needs were being met, social needs were being met, emotional needs, not just the spiritual context. Our church today does some of that, but we don't have quite the same. Well, let me leave that for now. Yeah, let me leave that alone right there.
Come on, family. Come on, answer post. Do you believe that the black church is an experience, or is it a counterculture? Jonathan, we have the privilege, you and I, and Sheree, and even Eddie. I'm not sure, but I know that I have the privilege of coming from a city that's governed by black people, the city of Miami Gardens. You may call the city whatever you want, but the city is a black city with a black mayor, and all of the city council representatives are black. And by the way, I want to just shout out that Adventism for the last the last 8 years or so, we have had a dominant role in the city of Miami Gardens, with the mayor being related to some of us and definitely connected to the church, and a city commissioner, also city councilwoman. So it's something about a black city. I mean, you can hold your head up, stick your chest out. It's my city, Miami. City of brotherly love, not. But nevertheless, the fast life. We have a black city. We also have Florida City. It's also a black city. Opa-locka is also a black city. So we have a couple of black cities in Miami, Florida. But when you talk about the Cadillac of them all, it is the city of Miami Gardens. And we have a black, very progressive church in that of Mount Pisgah in that city. So Jay, Mount Pisgah, let's remember our humble beginnings. And boy, it was humble. Was it the experience of that place, or was it just the culture of the place that you and I can celebrate today as being a part of our history and who we are? What do you think? This one, and Dre, I'm not gonna leave you out. Definitely is in a black community, but it was never a black city. But it had the same power that we're talking about. Is it culture, or is it the power of just the belief of black people coming together? I said a lot. I'm sorry, Sheree. I got into my old habits. Go ahead, Jay.
Did you say a lot? Yay, yay. You did. but let me say this. Once again, I'm like Bishop. I believe it's a bit of both. And follow me here, and let's just look at it from an Adventist point of view. When we come to church, many of us, that's our day. Some of us are in Sabbath school, church, and then after, if they have the fellowship dinner, which many cultures don't have, we have that stay by and talk and then come back to Bible study type thing. And it means so much to us, but it derives from the culture, even all the way back to slavery, when they got Sunday was their couple of hours of release, and their service was where they got their messages and their underground directions for what they were going to do. It was in song, it was in thought, it was in the verbiage that they had, the language that they had. Matter of fact, and even nonverbal. So when you look at our church even today, we still follow some of those same characteristics of it being a cultural experience, and also the other experience that you mentioned. I do believe that. So I am with Bishop. It is a combination of both.
Combination of both. Okay, Lex. By the way, I want to just correct you. I hear the feedback. Okay, is it better? It's gone. Is it gone now? Yeah, it's gone. All right. So let me apologize for flexing with Lex. It's about to be firing Lex, not flexing, but firing Lex in a little bit. But we gave the wrong challenge this evening. You're not doing the jog, the little slow motion jog. She had something that was 10 times diabolical. So I'm going to ask if she will allow us to keep that for another week. And can we push back on the real damaging, real cold-hearted, I don't know what you thought about when you did it, but we want to save that for next week. So guys, we get a freebie on Flex with Lex. We're going to do the jogging one more time in preparation for the terror that will come the following week. So let's get back on our program. Lex, do you think the influence of slavery and colonization are still impacting the Black church today, and how?
I think it is. I think I don't know that we would ever get away from the ramifications of slavery. I think one of the ways that it is impacting the Black church, because once again, people like to throw in religion, but the Black church is also about culture. And one of the things that we've been taught is that culturally we're inferior, and it's just now we're beginning to accept and embrace ourselves culturally. I had the privilege of visiting different cities around the world. I've been to Crete, Sicily, and those are rustic communities, and they love themselves, and they love their roots, and they love their European ancestry. And Asia's the same way, they love their roots. But when it comes to us, we've been taught that we are inferior. And what slavery tried to do was to distance us from who we are, because we were taught that we are inferior, and therefore everything about us is also inferior. So I think in saying the Black church, a lot of people think it's divisive, and it's not. It's just saying that we are appreciating who we are as a people culturally. And so slavery negatively impacted the church. And I think we're beginning to realize now that culturally, we're okay. It's okay to worship God and be comfortable in the context of one's culture. So and we're still trying to shed the garments of that inferior message. And I think a lot of times when we do gravitate to other churches, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's because we're trying to run. You're too loud. You're too this, and which is fine. You prefer what you prefer. It's like, and I'm probably going to go for 10. I'm going to say it anyway. It's like sometimes when Black men say they don't like Black women because we too loud and we too this. So I prefer women from another race because they're this, because everything that is us seems to be inferior. So I think that slavery have influenced all aspects of our lives, but thank God that we're coming back now when we have come unto yourself.
You still got too much preaching in you. You still got too much preaching in you. You're going to turn that down just a little bit. And by the way, public announcement, everyone on this panel who represent the male species, we are married to Black women. So we're okay.
I'm just, we just
want to make sure we're married to beautiful, strong Black women, and we bless the Lord for them. Hallelujah. So we'll move on just in case somebody, miss and say something that's not true, But well said, Lex, well said. But Eddie, I'm going to have to throw the tough question out to you, my friend. I'm sorry. I was trying to save it for Cherie, but we're not back on that end of the table. So you're going to have to get the hard one for now. So Eddie, do you believe that, and listen, please listen to the context of the question. Those who are watching before you arrive to a point of view. Do you believe that worshiping outside of your culture, okay, as a Black person, do you believe that you are trying to rid yourself of the Black experience? Are you trying to perpetrate a fraud and be someone else? Do you believe that those who are worshiping in other churches, are they authentic to their worship, or are they oppressing what's inside of them? Because this has always, and I'm asking this question. I'm sorry, you're the one that must bear this tough question. We're gonna go to Dr. Dre next. I think Dr. Dre can also handle this question. It's because we have this divide within the Black church that if you're not attending a Black church, and this is not just Adventism, because we're not dealing with Adventism. We're talking about Black church. If you watch the PBS special, we're talking about the Black church, the Black experience, the Black community. So it's not just Adventism. We're not even dealing with that this evening. We're talking about the Black experience, the Black church. So let's go further. So there is a great argument among the Black community that if you go outside the Black community into a mixed or a white church, you are not authentic. It's the same way if a Black man with money marries Eddie, that's your question, man. I'm done. That's your question. I'm done.
You ain't done yet. You forgot to put that last part of that question right there.
I'm gonna let you answer that. That's yours. I'm gonna let you answer that.
Oh Lord. So the question was, do I think say this question one more time, man.
I'm gonna give you a summary. Do you think being Black, you should be in a Black church? Okay. And if you're not, are you oppressing the experience, or are you trying to perpetrate a fraud?
Man. Okay. Lord. Well, I'm coming to you next, Ray. All right. Well, let me put it this way. Here's what I think. I'm gonna pull a Dre and Java on this one, man. I'm kind of in the middle with this. And here's why.
Wow. Hold on, bro. Hold on. Watch it. Be careful.
Hold on.
Java, we have to come for him, buddy.
For those who are participating, please answer the question. Once again, remember, we're not aiming this at any denomination. We're talking about the Black experience. So join us and share with us on the post. What do you think about those Black successful, influential individuals who depart from the Black church, even though they had all the experience and all of the motivation and the buildup, and now they have made something of themselves, and they leave the Black community, leave the Black church, take wealth and everything, and go to the other side? Do you think they're oppressing their worship, and do you believe they are committing a fraud, perpetrating a fraud. Go ahead, Eddie. It's yours.
So the black church, as we've kind of stated and overstated, the black church was birthed out of struggle. We were birthed out of a struggle from the time of slavery, and I think that same struggle is still an undertone of a lot of our worship. It may not be the whipping of a white slave master, but it's still that struggle shows itself in many different forms in our everyday lives. Now, in terms of the church community coming together, the black church community coming together, I think that I think that the experience is authentic. And the reason why I'm saying I'm kind of in the middle is because there are individuals who leave the black church because they feel like they're above the black church. That's the reason why I'm saying I'm in the middle. Now, here's the thing. Now, I don't want you to get me wrong. Style, culture, style, all of that comes into play. Now, again, just like Lex says, there are some individuals who, just because you was raised in a loud house doesn't necessarily mean you like loud things. I was raised in a loud house. Come on, somebody. But I get that part. But there are individuals who, once you've made it to a certain level, I guess you want to call it, and you've looked at your peers and the people who's on that level with you, and they sound a different way, and they worship a different way, and they think a different way, and then you go back to your roots. You look back at your roots. I'm looking down because that's what roots are. Roots are in the ground, right? You go back to your roots, and you see that your roots don't reflect what your peers look like they're reflecting, and so you get yourself away from the hymns, from the shouting, from the black experience, so that you can go to something more solemn and let me put it this way, because I don't want to make it seem like the argument is about being loud or being soft spoken, man. Because there's a whole lot of black churches who soft spoken as well. But here's what I'll say. I'll use one aspect of the worship service, going from a 1-hour sermon to a 20-minute sermon.
That's sort of an indictment. What you trying to say?
I'm saying it because in the black church, statistically, black preachers preach longer sermons. Because even if you have a 20-minute word, by the time you get to minute 15, that 15 stretches into an hour because you're contextualizing the message in such a way where everyone is experiencing it. They're seeing what's happening. They're seeing the message in their particular lives. So the message obviously gets stretched. But in other churches, you're gonna get 20 minutes, whether you understand it or not. You're gonna get to 20 minutes. And what I'm saying, I guess, to answer your question more vividly, is to say, yes, there are individuals who do perpetrate.
Listen, my friend, you have tap danced very well around this question.
I didn't.
Listen. Hey, look at everyone around. You tap dance. Listen, but listen. Let's take 2 comments. Let's go to Marlene, and then let's go to Sister Kingston. Let's go to 2 comments, because listen. I saw the Running Man. Did y'all see the Running Man? I saw the Running Man. I saw the Running Man. Peter, can you pull up Sister Marlene's comment and then go to Sister Kingston comment? Sister Marlene, go to Sister Marlene's first if you can. Awesome. You should be able to worship where and however you want to. I agree. But remember that many of us were taught how to worship based on the European style of worship. Now, let me Lord, let me flush that out. I'm sure the AME, they didn't learn how to worship as a European with the European stuff. I'm sure I'm sure Church of God in Christ, they didn't learn from the Europeans. So this is more germane to, us. Yes, us. Yes.
I'd like to interject.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I understand what she's saying, but because it's absolutely true. Now, a lot of the churches were, Like the AME Church, they divided not on theology but on culture,
on method.
Right, exactly. So in the context of Adventism, I'll take it a step further. It is culturally, because listen, how many times your mama told you that you got your hair nappy? We talk about how nappy hair is, and it was in the negative. You know, we and this is us doing that to ourselves. We talk about skin color. And so we have colorism and we have classism that has also infiltrated into the church by how we do things, because the standard that was set is the one that we were trying to reach. So the wider and more European we were was what was more acceptable, because that was the standard that they set. And that, you know, translated into all aspects of Blackness. And all we're doing is reclaiming it and saying, you know what, the way that we do worship it's unique to us, and it is okay.
Now, hold that, Dre. I'm coming to you. European style of worship. So our Black experience was looked down on. Now we all can agree. You know, do you remember the Black Pride movement of the 70s? I'm Black and I'm beautiful. I'm Black and I'm proud. You know, you can tell the influence of the church, or just culture, basically. As you say, my head is nappy is now the new thing. It's a style. It speaks of your heritage. It speaks of your pride, you know, where then it was shame and it was considered a disgrace and an outcast of society. Come on, Dr. Dre, let me hear from you.
Yeah, on this issue, you know, Blacks are not a monolith. And so not everyone is going to like and appreciate the same thing. And part of it does depend on how you were introduced to Christianity. Was it from a Eurocentric viewpoint? That will shape sort of how you enjoy worship. I have been sort of where I've been able to enjoy all types of worship. The challenge for me is, as I've gotten older, I'm not quite as tolerant of all styles of worship. I'll be very, honest. Even the Black church is getting a little boring to me sometimes. But it's we're not a monolith. We're not all the same, and we have to have room for everybody to be able to worship and experience things differently in the context of worship, and not believe that because someone chooses a different style of worship, that's because they are suppressing something. Mm-hmm. It could just be that that's what they appreciate based on their background, based on what they grew up with. I grew up listening to different types of music, hymns. I love and appreciate hymns and anthems. I love it. I also love gospel music. So, for me, I have that background. So I just love all of them. I can sing hymns. I love it. Anthems, gospel songs, whatever it is. And so I just have an appreciation for music, period. And so I can find myself in different contexts. Now, when it comes to preaching, then now that's where I prefer a little more pathos.
So you want a little style here, a little style there, but you want the Black preaching.
Yeah. I want that pathos.
You want that pathos. You want that.
No. I ain't say all that.
You don't want that. So what you want then?
I want the word, but just the word with power. That's all. I didn't say
that's not power.
You want the indiscriminate.
So we can't hoop. We can't have a call and response. We can't do that.
I didn't say you can't, but that wasn't call and response. You were just saying, I don't know what that is.
Man, we're gonna blank you out. Blank you out. Listen, the Black church is more than just a building. And this goes contrary to what Dr. Dre said, and Dr. Dre laid a great foundation along with Dr. Lex. But remember, it seemed as if the moving out of the Black church, and this is another argument, is usually based on wealth and education, and never based on worship. That's one of the greatest arguments, is that most of our most successful Black citizens, they find themselves seeking for a better class of people to be with. And so for many of our Black communities, once you are successful, you cross over the Jordan. Who talked about the Jordan? You cross over the Jordan and you dwell in another country because you have become an outcast in your culture. I'm not really sure if that's how the community view you. The community view you. I believe that many of our Black successful Christians, they see, that we're still splitting verbs and we're still in this rundown building. We're still doing the church budget, the church the building fund. We're still frying chicken on Sabbath evening. Excuse me. We're frying plates. This is part of the Black experience. And once you make it, let's put aside worship. Once you make it, and I'm gonna come to you, Cherie, with this. Do you think you owe the Black church something? Do you take your resources and your education and do you leave the community, or do you give back to the community? Because once again, it's the greatest institution that we own is the Black church. So do you think we owe the Black community and the Black church, Cherie, some type of give back? Or should we just leave once we are educated?
Your question is very personal.
Now it's personal?
Yeah, it's personal. So I'm struggling to answer it because I don't want to be a mouthpiece for to generalize. I feel like it's more personal because the Black experience is personal. The reason I attend church is on a personal level. It's a personal relationship between me and God. But then as far as my church experience goes, if they've poured into me, then absolutely I should give back.
Okay, but can I ask this question? I'll go to Java with this, and I want to get 2 comments for Sister Kingston real quick. But before you were educated, you found safety in that small wooden church. You were not attending on the other side of the Jordan. That's most, and once again, the argument this evening is not so much about worship as it is about the Black church itself. Okay, the Black church stands for a city. The Black church represents a state. The Black church represents economics. It represents a whole business community. I'm talking about the Black church. And if the Black church gave you safety, gave you an opportunity to progress, once you have arrived to a place of success and influence, do you believe you should take the resources and leave?
Oh, you still?
I'm talking to you. Then let me go to Java, and then I come to. I mean, it's just like football players. It's just like basketball players. Once again, once you have made it, do you leave? Now this
you can't do those comparisons. You can't do apples to apples and oranges to oranges. You can't do that.
You're right. Let's stick with the Black church. I just wanted to throw a little bit in there to help you figure out.
Yeah, you can't do that because everybody's situation is different. Okay. If you call it that now that I've gotten some education and I decide to move my family to a different neighborhood, especially if you put children in the mix, especially now that I have offspring and I have children to look out for, and I feel as if they will be better served in a different community, better quality schools, better this, better that, then okay, you want me to travel an hour out of my way to go back to the church where I came from just because of loyalty? And are you accusing me of not bringing them my resources? What about bringing my resources to another church? Just because I was born there and raised there doesn't mean that I have to stay there for the rest of my life. I mean, that's just a question I'm asking.
I love your honesty. We're gonna take that one step further. Java, help us with this. you're from a historical community city. If they talking about the citizens of Atlanta, Georgia, if they decided to leave Atlanta would be a ghost town. But some way, somehow, all those successful Black citizens stayed in Atlanta, Georgia, and Atlanta, Georgia is one of the greatest successful stories of a Black city, along with Washington, D.C. Okay, the city of Columbus, I believe. What is it called? Is it D.C.? I think it's D.C. Where the Black mayor is the young lady. Got a Black young lady that's the mayor. It's D.C. It's D.C. Yes, it's D.C. Go ahead, Job. Help us out.
You're on mute, Java.
Okay.
We got you now.
Okay. You know, one of the themes for this month is, are we there yet? Right? You know, and I think that's where the Black church has had its greatest challenge in answering that question, because those who have felt like they have arrived, and I don't want to generalize it, but the Black church was a place that we gathered for struggle. And so when you find affluent Blacks who are no longer struggling, then you may begin to have a situation where they may not see a need for the church. This shows up in our evangelism, right? When we're evangelizing, people begin to talk about why we're just targeting the places that, people tend to need mostly social services, why we aren't able to reach out to the African-American community that's more affluent, right? So on one hand, we don't really want to always reach out to those who may need our help, but then we don't bend our mind on how to try to reach people who may have arrived already. Okay, so that's one thing, right? The other thing is when we talk about the Black experience in worship, in music, think about it, right? The church had some of its most thank you, Lord. It has some of its most dynamic stars in the R&B and in the rap realm, right? That got their start in the church. I mean, think about Whitney Houston. I mean, you can't really name a great R&B singer, the Aretha Franklins, the Gladys Knights, right? The Diana Ross. You can't really talk about those people. Yeah, if you don't talk about how they got their start in the Black church. You see, so that rhythm came from the Black experience. And so, it almost looped back around where now those same tunes found themselves in the church. The Clark sisters got beat up. Is my living in vain? The tune was from a worldly song. James Cleveland, Jesus is the best thing. So this, yeah. And then think about it, the rap genre, the hip hop culture. I mean, we shunned it, right? But think about it. They began to talk about the struggle in the street. And the way they did it, the church didn't receive it, but they were just like, poets. They were just like movie reporters. And I mean, I was raptured in that genre, but when I go back and listen to some of it now, so we stopped embracing our struggle, and I think that's where the shift may happen, within the church. So, and then one thing, this one last thing I say about the HBCU and talking about the emerging affluence of Blacks in America, right? The HBCUs often were religious in nature.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. And those who attended those institutions typically are some of those who are still committed to the Black church. But, when you have the privileged white institutions, the Ivy Leagues, where some of our more affluent Blacks begin to go to, those are some of the ones who may have turned their back on the church. But even those like Barack Obama found themselves at Trinity United. They're in Chicago. So, the Black church is still relevant. I think we gain our relevance as we really embrace our culture, even the parts of it that we don't like. Because some of these far out rappers, you know, and hip hop personnel, when you think about it, man, Master P, I mean, the brothers talk like he know God. You know, people like T.I., you know, these gangster rappers, these people talking now as I listen to them like they know God. They're morphing. You know, whatever was in the black church still seems to be in them as they are finishing off their hip hop culture careers. Multi-millionaires, they're now starting to dial their monies to help the black church in the black community. I digress, but it's something.
Hey, that's good history. Good history. Come on, Dr. J. Good history.
Let me just share this from educational point of view. I went to Miami Union Academy up to 10th grade. Then I went on to another academy for my junior and senior year. And many of the young people there, black young people there came from affluent homes. But the one thing I saw was a disconnect that was not their fault, but I believe that their parents did not connect them in any way to their roots or give them any exposure. So therefore, they really didn't have a connection to the African-American community or know who they were. You asked them about Black history, about Martin Luther King Day and things of this nature. And these kids are like saying, what? No, we've never experienced that. And so what I found is when I got there, that many of the Caucasian brethren were asking me questions that the others weren't able to provide answers for. And I found that very unique. So when we look at it, if, like Eddie said earlier, the roots are in the ground, we still need, even if you move to a different area, there's still a responsibility of exposure and to teach. Because I will give this culture, I don't care where a Jewish person lives, if they are Orthodox and truly follow their way, they will know their roots and who they're from and what they're attached to. So it's nothing wrong with moving to the east side like George Jefferson, but George Jefferson still walked like he was from the west side. You understand what I'm saying? He still had his roots, he still had his connection. And I think that's one of the things, really, you don't have to teach a person to be Black. You need to let them understand their experience of a Black person.
Good one, Jay. Good one. And it's interesting because I was make this statement is that you find that more of us from Black cities and communities, we tend to move to other churches more than they of the other persuasion will move to us. And that is, and I think Sister Kingston said it best, you don't find too many other cultures coming to us, but you can go to a dominant Black church and you will find nothing but Black people. You go to what they consider a mixed church and you find more Black people. And so the question is always debated. And once again, we're not talking about your spiritual appetite or your spiritual desire. We're talking about, and I think Sister Kingston said it right. She said, I feel that a sad situation brought us together in church. Now that I am successful, why should I run away? I believe in loyalty. If I am not loyal in the small thing as church, God help me. You know, so at the end of the day, there is something, if there is a Black nucleus that is connected to the Black church as the institution, and if everyone that we bring through those doors, if they are successful and they leave, you deplete the church. You deplete the community of success, you know. And so, you know, this is a dichotomy that we have to discuss, because I think last week, Dr. Joseph McCoy said it best. It's not white flight, a lot of Black flight going on. And so, you know, I don't, you know, once again, it's the discussion we're having, and we have to push so that we can really tease it out. But once again, when I go to Black churches, and I go often, it's only my people. When I go to mixed churches, I see a lot of my people. And, you know, just an observation. Dr. Dre, and then we will hit two more questions as it is 9:23. We'll try to get closer to the end of our program. Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, one of the challenges as a Black church, and especially as we look at the Black churches within our conference and that are facing this migration, if you want to call it that, part of it, as we said already, is geography. It's where people move to once their economics improves. They move to different areas away from where the majority of our Black churches, because of course the majority of our Black churches are in the inner city and in areas where people with resources don't necessarily often live. They will usually move away. One of the other challenges we have, of course, and it was brought up last week, but it's a cycle. So it's programming facilities. So the people who move up that have more resources move away, and they don't bring their children back there because the other churches have more resources. The other churches have more resources because people with resources are there. They started off with more. So we started off at a huge disadvantage economically. And so our facilities are not going to be like theirs. We're not going to have all of the classroom space that you need in order to put on really great children's programs. You're not going to have a lot of the financial resources to get all of the materials and all of these things. And so their program, appears to be better because of the resources they have. And so people with resources take their children there because the resources are there. And then it's just a cycle. And so what will have to happen at some point is that those with resources will have to use online giving. And though they're sitting somewhere else, they need to start sending some of their dollars back so that we can start to have some of the kind of programs that would attract people to make that 30-minute, 45-minute, hour drive to come back, because the program that we're putting on is so good because of the resources that we have. But that's the challenge we have.
That's called a solution.
That's in every sphere, though. I think we're that's not just unique to the Black church. That's unique to Black neighborhoods. The reasons our schools are failing. Schools are funded based on property taxes. We don't own anything, so therefore we want our children to go to the better schools. Teachers, you have the better teachers because they have better resources at the other schools. So it's a cycle that we have to break. So that's right now we're saying, hey, let's talk about this and let's look at this and how can we, because like you said, New York, the biggest Hasidic community, they're so insular, and we're the only ones that are saying that other people can do it better than we can. So let's go over there, because once again, the standard has been set that we always need validation and affirmation from somebody else. So until we realize that we don't need to run away from the bad parts of us, we need to take the bad parts and make it better.
Yeah. Now we got something cooking around here. And let's put a little more gas on this fire, and let's go to a question I believe is it's probably at the heart of the Black community, and that is simply: do you think the Black community still respect the Black clergy? Do you think the clergy has the respect and the influence over the Black community? The greatest witness in the early progression of the church and community, as the community was developing, was that of the Black pastor. He was the most educated. He was the most charismatic. He was the most influential person in the church and the community. Do you think we still have that type of respect and that influence today? Let's start with Lex, and let's go to Ed, and we'll throw this one around. And what do you think, family? Do you think the respect level for the clergy is still high?
I think if I can refer back to the most recent election, right, particularly in Atlanta, what you saw was clergy, right, and the wider Black influencers within that city come together. And one of the reasons why the Black church and clergy had influence earlier on, was because of their involvement to help the least, the last, and the lost. And so, the political climate, the issues were around those individuals, who are being targeted, who are without. And so, Black pastors in Atlanta, as a matter of fact, the pastor of the Ebenezer Church, Warnock, became senator there in Atlanta. So I do believe there are now still pockets of, Black clergy that are respected. But however, you still have a large, swath maybe that we're not comfortable with, who have lost that respect. And so there is a balance. They've lost their respect for multiple reasons. We've studied in school some of the deadly sins the pastorate could, be involved with, whether it be money, whether it be sex, or whether it may be the abuse of power, or the combination of the three, and so in that regards, they have lost some respect. But, by and large, I think at its core, they are still respected. I think those who may exploit on TV may have diminished it a little bit, or the lavish mega church. So I think there's a balance, but I think we can find and still do have hope, in regards to the impact that we saw in Atlanta from the Black church. Let's be clear. The Black church was critical in, bringing change to the people in the city of Atlanta, and also in the wider context of America. Can I say this one last thing? The story of Moses, he forsake those things of Egypt, to be with his people. And I think that is one of the things that can really help the Black church, those who feel the call to go back and help. And I think that's why coming together in the Black church is so important. It's one of the only places where the Black community can come together with resources, with purpose, with vision, and really build something that can last for a long time.
All right. Lex.
I agree 100% with Java. I have to say that yes and no. I think yes and no. I think once again, because you spoke about education. Now we're a little bit more educated, and just along the lines of religion and spirituality, we have more information. Everybody can research, right now everybody's a theologian, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I think in a good way, they have lost a little bit of respect. And the reasoning is people are starting to research for themselves. People are becoming in charge of their own salvation and their own relationship with God. And we're starting to uncover the sins, and I use that word very loosely, because we allowed, the clergy to get away with a lot. So in that aspect, I believe we're holding them more accountable. We're holding you accountable to be who you say you are and to represent who you say you're representing. And I am no longer going to sit by as we did before and just let things happen. So there's that. I also believe that the clergy, Black clergy, was very influential in the Black experience, as with the church. I think of the Psalm 137. Psalm 137, this has been in my spirit. And it says, by the rivers of Babylon, where we sat down, and there we wept when we remembered Zion. And he said, the wicked carried us away in captivity and required from us a song. But how can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? And I just see the imagery of the pastors riling up the people that we can still sing the Lord's song in a strange land, because this is not our land and this is not where we are. But let us not forget the land where we came from and the song that we came with. You didn't give us the song, we came with the song. And I think that is the Black clergy that was at the forefront of the movement. And I believe with being anointed, I do believe that. And they are part of the reason. If we look at Abernathy, Martin Luther King, they're Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, they all had ties and roots to the church, because those who have the least have the most faith. That's it.
You said a mouthful.
Yeah, you did.
Oh,
I want to definitely say, man, I 100 and 1000% agree with you, Lex, and I 1000% agree with. I think, man, we saying a lot of the same things. My thing would be, I would say the question is not necessarily, do people respect the Black pastors nowadays, or do they consider them influential? I would say the question really is, how ingrained is the Black pastor in their community? That's the question I would say. I would have to throw it back to the pastor, because here's the reality. The reality of it is that people, respect is not given; it's earned. Influence is not. You just don't get influence just because you have a name, just because you were a tag, just because you sit on a specific place. I mean, in the day, because on the heels of the Dr. Martin Luther Kings of the world, the people who did so much for their communities, when you became a preacher, it was automatic that you received respect, because in their minds they said, okay, well, you're going to be a person who was ingrained in our community, who affected change, who cared about us, who prayed for us, who did those things. But man, preacher, I'm not gonna say a lot of Black preachers, but some Black preachers today have walked away from that thinking. They walked away from those principles, and now it's more about consumerism. It's great to have great pathos and preach good messages and to bring down the house, but if that's all you do, then how can you get the influence? How can you rile the people? How can you galvanize the people to give back into the community, to move, to affect change? You can't do that. And so I would say that the question is not necessarily directed towards the people, but the question is directed towards the ministers.
Awesome. Now, this is the last question, and listen, that was super. That's absolutely powerful. But this is a question that will help develop a list. And that question is simply, if you had an opportunity to contribute to a initiative to improve the Black church, what would you put on that list to move the progression of the Black church? So we want to develop a list. There's an invisible list. You have an opportunity to talk to the clergy. You want to say, Pastor, right now the church needs to move in this direction. We need to do this. So I'll give you about, count to 5, let you think about it. This is an opportunity. We're dialoguing. We're talking about the Black church. How can we improve the Black church? How can we give strength back to this great institution? This institution that blessed us with great thinkers and great scholars, with doctors and with politicians. This great institution that, if we're not careful, will lose its influence, because if we're constantly losing great resources and that of intellectual property, then we're in trouble. Our kids must have someone to look up to, because believe it or not, many of us, I'm going to call a name, Jonathan, Elder Brennan, Elder Green, Elder McMillan. We had great elders. We had fathers at home. Bless the Lord. You know, they did their part, but we had the reinforcement of great men. Andre, you had Elder Brennan. I mean, no, Elder oh man, goodness, I'm having a senior moment. Start with Brentley. God. Sorry, Elder Brentley.
Elder Pemberton.
Elder Pemberton, yes. You had my great uncle, Shadrach Lewis, Deacon Lewis. You had Deacon Long. Okay, you had. Let's go further up. We can call some men who were starch. I mean, you talking about ironclad workers and shakers and movers within the community that we had an opportunity to look up to and to glean from. And I know many people can begin to call names of great men and women. We don't want to leave out women too. Okay. Sister Fuller. You remember Sister Fuller from Jamaica, the storyteller? Great women, great men. And now we have an opportunity before we leave this evening. We end this broadcast. What will we do to save our Black church? I'm not talking about the message. Let me make that very clear. Okay. The message will never leave. The Bible is very clear. Jesus makes it clear that his church will survive. She's not going anywhere. But we do want the influence. We do want the motivation for our young kids to know you can, make it out of this situation. So let's start with Dr. Jonathan up top, and brothers and sisters, family members who's on the post, please post as we develop this list. What would you say to your pastor?
First of all, I would like to send a shout out to my sister Luggage. She knows who she is. And then I would like to tell our pastors to strengthen our youth ministry, make it powerful. Let the children make it powerful, teach them economics, history, Bible, and who they are.
I like that. Youth ministry. Dr. E.
Okay. I would say that we have to think out. Let me use a different word. I would say let's progress. Let's progress. Here's what I mean by let's progress. I think that we've done the Black church has done a tremendous job in the way that they've been able to carry themselves and teach and facilitate learning and exposure, giving us exposure to the world back in the day. I think that if we're going to if we're going to make our church better, then we've got to keep that same stamina, but in a different way. It's great to be able to do. It's great when we was able to worship in hot boxes. That was amazing. That was amazing. But let's progress. Let's put the money in those children programs to progress and to not put kids in hot boxes anymore. Let's put them in an okay facility. I mean, if you don't got a great facility, let's bring them out to the park. Let's find new ways to do what we've been doing in a different setting that matches the times that we're in.
New methods or infrastructure? Which one?
I like both of them. I like both.
Tap dancing. There you go. Tap dancing.
Yeah, that tap dancing. Come on. We're gonna give you the methods. New methods. We're gonna give you the methods. Okay. Dr. Lex.
Man, money. We need money.
Listen, you said it.
We need money. Go on, bring us some money.
Do we need some or do we need a lot?
We need a lot of money. We need that's the root right there. Yes, we need some money.
Okay, finances. I love it. What about you, Madam Cherie?
Lex took my words, but because that's it, dollar bills. But the next one I could think of is networking. We need to be a church that's not afraid to network more. God says to abide until he comes. Doesn't mean to keep to ourselves. We need to reach out more to our communities. We can't complain if we're not going to show up to these town hall meetings, these city hall meetings, and offer solutions and offer visibility to who lives in our neighborhood. So we can talk a lot, but you're just talking to yourselves. Network, get to know who these people are, and abide till he comes and bring other people money in. Come on now.
I feel the passion. That's that Advent health on you, girl. I feel it. Listen, let me touch your hands. Touch. Let's touch and agree. Let's touch and agree.
Get that money. Get that money.
Come on, Dr. Jonathan Rose. Network money method. methods and youth ministry. Oh no, I mean Java. Come on, Java.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow the question, man. I had it, then it slipped.
We need you to speak to the clergy. You speak to your pastor and inform him of what needs to be done to move our Black church forward.
Well, I will say one word and not flesh it out. I would just say family, right? The Black family. I think about the young men who, when I say young, I mean our teenage boys that are out there, our teenage girls that are out there, that family circle. I feel like the church really needs to listen to see, what the family circle and structure needs. There are multiple types of family structures, single parent homes, and so these children, if we could save the children, if I can be cliche-ish, if we can reach out to the children and to the families on how we can serve them. Often being in the broader context of the Adventist culture, we have prescribed things we go and do in the community. We need to listen. We need to listen and observe what needs to be done to help our Black families.
Awesome. Dr. Bishop.
Hold on. Pastor Prince. Is it story time with Bishop now?
And no stories.
I want a story.
No.
We haven't had one in a while, too.
Yeah, we're all like this.
We want a story.
No, there are no stories tonight. So let me just say that I believe
I got my goldfish ready.
No stories tonight.
You still from the children's ministry?
Let me just say though that one of the things to me that I believe is critical is for our young people and our children to get an understanding of who they are inherently, who God has made them to be, to understand. I believe there's an education that needs to happen. There's a book, The Miseducation of the Negro, and I believe there needs to be a re-education of our young people. There's a poem by, I think it's William Cooper, says, fleecy locks and dark complexion cannot forfeit nature's claim. And that poem, he was writing, trying to help the Negro understand that though our skin is different from others, we are still, as humans, inherently good and inherently valuable. And our young people have to really get a strong picture of who we are as a people and who we are to God. They have to understand that we are the original man. They have to understand that genetically we are mom and daddy, genetically. And they have to begin to understand that their fleecy locks are not a bad thing. Huh?
You gonna lock yours up?
No, I tried, and that experiment ended years ago. But they have to understand that their fleecy locks are not bad. They have to understand that their lips and their hips are not bad. They have to understand that how God has designed their skin to work and how it protects and how it provides nutrients for them. They have to understand the value of that. They have to begin to understand the power of their mind. They have to understand that almost every invention that we have came from the mind of a Black man or a Black woman. They got to begin to understand just who they are, and not in order to try to make them feel superior, but in order for them to understand that they were created and made in the image of God, right? And so that's what I think it can be very valuable to young people in the Black church, in the Black community. They should not leave our churches feeling anything but empowered. They should not leave our churches feeling anything but special and important. And they should go out knowing that they are definitely not the tail. They ought to go out feeling that they are, they have just as much right to existence as any other human, just as much rights to success as any other human. And that's what I believe is one of what could be of most impact for our young people, is to leave our churches feeling empowered with knowledge of who they are in Christ and who they are as a people.
So empowered. So listen to the list that we have developed. Youth ministry, and I would put their education, K through 12, and youth ministry. Methods, you can change the methods to meet the needs. Money, and a lot of it. Networking in your community and around your community to bring the best resources and the intellectual property to help your people. Family, let's spend time investing in the Black family, the nucleus of the church and the community. And last of all, empowerment, identity, knowing who you are and knowing the power that God has placed inside of you. And if I can just put a cherry on top of this beautiful cake, I would say to myself, if I was pastoring myself, have some pride. Have some pride. Regardless of what you have, it does not define you if you put some pride in it. Fix the building. Put time in producing quality programs. Stop speaking negativity among and over the people you serve and over the people that you fellowship with. If we speak power, and if we truly believe the one who grants all things, then the Bible declares that there's nothing that's impossible for us to achieve and do. My commentary this evening, as I bid you farewell for this Sabbath celebration, wherever you may go. When you return back to that building, when you return back to that community, have some pride. Put some paint on the wall. Put a different coat of paint on the walls around the building, I should say. Raise the money and actually use the money to improve the building and the condition of the environment you are in. Money can do a lot, but pride, holy pride, guided by the Holy Spirit, can do much more than a bus or a truckload of money. That's how we made it out. That's why all of us today can celebrate success. We all came from churches. They were in the hood, but we're now citizens in communities that refuse to allow our ancestors to live in. And you and I, and many of you today watching and participating in this discussion, you are living in areas because our ancestors, they stayed and they decided they were going to put the best they had in whatever building they could afford. And they gave us the best programs they could put together. And if God gave them that type of initiative with limited resources, imagine if we bring that holy pride with all that we have. Imagine what God can do for the Black church. So as we continue to progress through this COVID-19 pandemic, let's redefine the Black church. And when we come out of this, let's be better than when we came in. God is for us. He's been with us, and he will never leave us. Friday Night Live. Have a good night. Continue to celebrate Black history. And we'll see you next week as we will have the great, the one, the only Dr. Rock, who will share with us as we bring our Black history celebration for the month of February to an end. For those who are still in need of more substantive programming, Northside will be holding a program tomorrow, and I just want to give a shout out. I don't do this too often, but I believe this is a great program that will continue to build on what we're doing. They have a program tomorrow afternoon at 4:30. It's the topic, the intersection between race and religion, what to do when you feel your religion doesn't care about you. Their special guest and our special guest, the Southeastern Conference, who is a native, will be Dr. Eric Walsh. So please come on out and enjoy the program. You can find the information on their website. Go to Northside, Google it, and they have a Facebook page. And just enjoy the program tomorrow. God bless you. Enjoy worship, whatever platform you will attend.
Thank you for sharing this time with us. And remember, please share this on whatever platform you may be watching on right now. And if you are on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. Once again, this program is just for you. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week right here, same time, same place.